In a world where even the smallest disagreements can lead to arguments, violence, and even death, two brothers tackle the difficult subjects. This podcast is not just about dissecting topics from two different perspectives. It's also about how to have conversations on difficult topics while avoiding the urge to tear someone's head off and vomit down the bloody stump of their neck. Hello, I'm Brian Davis of the Brother vs. Brother podcast, and I want to take a look at a problem that's been bothering me lately. We have a real problem in the US with regard to news and information. Do we trust it or don't we? Is there bias, and how bad is it? If you follow the podcast at all, you know that we have discussed this issue from various angles, and this bit's going to be a little bit different. Because I believe that the problem is very bad, I'm going to use an example to illustrate the problem. Then I'm going to solve the problem. Sort of. First, let's take a look at the Trump loyalists, who they might be, and how they are portrayed in order to understand how media bias and media distrust is dividing us. There are two possible perspectives, and please understand the actual situation might be somewhere between the two. Perspective A. The majority of Trump loyalists are ignorant, prejudiced, angry, aggressive rednecks, and the mainstream media is accurately portraying them as such. There is a minority of Trump loyalists who do not fit the description, who also harbor grave mistrusts of the media, and therefore do not believe this portrayal of Trump loyalists is accurate. This minority believes that they represent the majority of Trump loyalists because of their personal experience, which is that the Trump loyalists they know are just like them, and they don't know any of the Trump followers who fit the description that I listed above. Perspective B. The majority of Trump loyalists are the same as the Republican establishment in appearance, intellect, and morality, but the mainstream media ignores them. Perhaps because the other Trump loyalists are better for ratings, or because they wish to undermine Trump's legitimacy. The consumers of mainstream media are entirely unaware of the existence of the majority of Trump loyalists because of their absence in the media. Instead, they believe that the majority of Trump followers are ignorant, prejudiced, angry, aggressive rednecks. Now, either way, we have a serious problem that is causing a major schism in our society. If perspective A is accurate, there's a portion of society that has grown to entirely distrust the media and everything or anything the media puts out. This can have major and catastrophic implications. For example, when they believe that the leader of the country is illegitimate. We only need to look to the Texas GOP that recently rejected the 2020 election in its official platform to see how this plays out. If perspective B is accurate, the majority of Americans are being misled by the media. This is as dangerous as the previous analysis because if it's true, the media is actively creating division in this country that could potentially undermine the confidence in our government and in one half of the population. Could this lead to a dissolution of the country? Now, let's look at the previous example in broader terms. Either we have a media organization that is manipulating the majority of America's view of reality, or we have a large number of the population that refuse to believe the facts as presented by the media. Perhaps both are true. Regardless, we have real reasons to be concerned for our nation. Now, media bias is undeniable. Some may argue the degree to which the bias exists, but nearly everyone will agree that it does exist. Understand that we do not need unity for our country to survive, but we do need to believe that the government is legitimate. The media is only the messenger presenting a message. But if we distrust the messenger, well, we're not going to trust the message. If that's the case, we can only trust our senses and our experience, and these are very limited. I personally was not at the Capitol building on January 6, 2021, so I must trust someone to give me the details. That someone is either going to be the mainstream media, or a friend, family member, online personality, etc. It is physically impossible for one person to have the experience of observing a presidential election because no one person can be at all of the polling stations simultaneously. There must be trust that others will relate their experiences accurately. Whether we trust the media or trust some collection of individuals, trust is essential. Now, let's look at the solution. To be clear, the solution is neither quick nor easy, but it is attainable. What we need is a trusted source of information. I believe that there are two methods to achieve this. I also believe that the most effective solution will probably be a combination of the two. Solution 1, crowdsourcing. Everyone can contribute. How they contribute is divided into 3 areas, which I will cover in a moment. Not all contributions carry the same weight. The more an individual contributes, and the more those contributions are verified, the more weight that individual's contributions are given. In other words, a brand new contributor would need to be verified by other contributors before the contribution is considered news. The more a particular piece of information is verified, the more factual it is considered. As an individual's reputation for accurate information grows, the less verification is required. Any individual can challenge a piece of news, and the higher the reputation that individual has, the more seriously the challenge is taken. Now, the difficulty with the crowdsourcing solution. The system can be gamed. A group of individuals can build up a solid reputation over time and then coordinate an attack on news, undermining its legitimacy. Solution 2, artificial intelligence. With the improvements in computing and advancements in technology, it should be easier to develop an AI that is capable of presenting information and even offering analysis than it is to maintain a propaganda network like we have in mainstream and fringe media today. The challenge to the AI solution: what is the source of information? How does the fact that a bomb exploded on the streets of Syria become known to the AI? A human must input the facts. The AI will learn to analyze, but it will also require human oversight. These human elements are the weak links in the AI information chain. The method to the solution. Each piece of information has 3 important components: facts, context, perspective. The facts are the events. For example, the Massachusetts primary concluded last night, and in the upcoming election for the governor, we have this Democratic candidate and this Republican candidate facing off. The context is the relevant parts of the environment. Using the previous example, the context might be: Massachusetts is primarily Democratic and has this historical record with respect to the political parties of the governor. The perspective is the analysis of the facts and provides relevant insight. For example, the Republican nominee has been endorsed by Donald Trump. Now, let's run through another example with a bit more detail. The facts should not be debatable or controversial. That is the easiest portion of the solution. For example, Gazprom, the Russian gas company, shut off the natural gas pipeline to Europe. If it happened, and it can be verified, then it is. The context is where we might see bias manifest. People may disagree on what is contextual and what is not. Also, what is relevant and what is not. For example, Russia is involved in a conflict with the Ukraine, and Europe has implemented sanctions against them. Russia claims that the gas stoppage is due to mechanical failure and cannot fix the problem due to the sanctions. European leaders, on the other hand, claim that the gas stoppage is in retaliation to the sanctions imposed on Russia. The perspective is where it is easiest to insert bias and opinion, both by what is included and also what is not. It is also the least necessary component. If a consumer of the news only has the facts and the context, they would have all of what they need to understand the situation. The perspective is where we can gain deeper understanding of the circumstances by which the news occurred, or some of the subtler points around the news. For example, European countries have been stockpiling natural gas in anticipation of stoppages and in preparation for the winter, when natural gas is in greater demand. Heating fuel prices are up dramatically due to the shortages caused by Gazprom, on top of already high costs due to inflation, which in turn was caused by many governments' reaction to the COVID-19 pandemic. When asked about repairing the issue, the Russian presidential spokesperson told the reporter
to ask the German company Siemens. A spokesperson for Siemens stated that they are willing to help, but Gazprom has not contacted them, and that the reported problem is not normally a cause for flow stoppage. The European Commission president stated that Russia is resorting to blackmail. Other countries, like India and China, have been undermining the European sanctions, and even Turkey, which has close ties to the European Union, has been more accommodating to Russia.
We can get nearly real-time information from eyewitnesses. They can provide evidence of their observations. Now, photographs and video can be faked, but metadata and corroborating sources help to validate it. No system is perfect, but with modern technology, we can definitely create a solution that is more effective than the one we use at the moment. I do believe we have a problem with the media and the information they provide. I believe that if this problem is not addressed soon, the consequences for the stability of this country could be catastrophic. What will happen at the next presidential election if millions of people dispute the outcome? What will happen if we suffer another pandemic and millions of people do not believe the political leaders of this country? Maybe it will be another hiccup that is given a chapter in the history books, like the Vietnam War protests and the culture war that followed. Or maybe it will be written about in those history books as the beginning of the end of this nation. Either way, we have the tools to solve the problem, and so we probably should. Thanks. We hope you learned something in this episode of Brother versus Brother, a podcast about difficult conversations. We also hope that you enjoyed it enough to subscribe to the podcast. You can help us by spreading the word. Share this episode on your favorite social media so that others will have an opportunity to experience it as well. You can also support us by donating through Patreon. This information and more can be found on our website, broconvo.com, and on our various social media accounts. Thank you.